Tonight we got a great panel of folks who've contributed to the vision of moving Richmond forward. And before we jump into this discussion, I wanted to make sure everyone introduced themselves properly.
I'm Christy Coleman, and for 12 years I served as the president and CEO of the American Civil War Museum in Richmond, and I served the city as co-chair of the Monument Avenue Commission.
I'm Marlon Buckner, co-founder of MB Squared Solutions, and the recent appointee as the mayor indicated. I worked for many years in the corporate sector, but prior to that, I spent time in the academy. I studied early 18th and 19th century African American history. In fact, Christy and I were just sharing a 30-year flashback to our time together in Williamsburg, and I'm just really excited about the opportunity that we have here to talk this evening.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Devon Henry. For the last 17 years, I've ran a general contracting company called Team Henry Enterprises. Here lately, I've been known as the remover of monuments, but look forward to sharing and learning from my fellow panelists.
Christy, you are at the beginning of, this is not the beginning of the total work of the city when it comes to monuments, because this has been going on for many years. Mr. Henry has quoted John Mitchell Jr. on many occasions, the former publisher of the Richmond Planet, that the black man erected the monument and it would be the black man that would remove it. And so tell me about what you think Richmond's role is in, when we talk about race in America, black history. What do you think Richmond's role has been? And you take a look at it in its full scope.
When Richmond eventually becomes the capital of the Commonwealth, it's a relatively sleepy place. The Middle Plantation, as it was once called, has moved up. A lot of these lands in the early 18th century were still occupied by a number of indigenous people in this land known as Sinacomico. And the black presence had already started moving from the Tidewater up to the Richmond region by the 1730s and 1740s, and most of those people were free people because with the Henning statutes, this is a long story, I'm an academic, so this is what I do. But in 1705, with the consolidation of something called the Henning statutes, it actually made it illegal for a free black person to stay in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Problem with that is that the Commonwealth of Virginia at the time, or the colony of Virginia, not the Commonwealth, the colony of Virginia, actually stretched to the Mississippi, right? And so the general feeling was, as long as these free black folks were out of the primary market sectors and they were living on their own, not causing any problems, that's fine. And so you ended up having free black people from the Tidewater move towards Richmond or move towards the eastern shore of Maryland. Those were sort of the two main places. And then after the American Revolution, or the onset of the American Revolution, it becomes important to move the capital from Williamsburg to Richmond. Move it further upriver to better protect it, right? Because it was hard getting over those falls. So that's what they do. And with them moving the capital comes a population of enslaved people. And many of those enslaved people who were coming up, again, from the Tidewater, from Williamsburg, were already 4th, 5th, 6th generations born in this place.
Thank you, Christy. Now, 2017, we were talking about Monument Avenue and the monuments that stood on Monument Avenue. And, well, we have someone who lives on Monument Avenue. Marlon, you live on Monument Avenue. And you were right there at the center of the protests. But before it was known as the Center for Protests, this was just a street, a tree-lined street.
Yeah.
A great address in town.
Yeah.
And so folks will probably ask, why are you living on Monument Avenue?
Yeah, with exactly that look. With exactly that look. And it was funny because And thank you, Christy, for setting the context the way that you have. And I would say parenthetically, part of what I'm really excited about us doing is really exploding all of what you were talking about and giving people the opportunity to understand in great depth and detail how it is that we got to 2020 and all that preceded it. Yeah, people looked at us like, what? Yeah. And I was saying this to Michael, Paul, and Kelly a couple of weeks ago on their show. You know, when Melody and I decided to buy the house 75 steps from one of the, if not the grand artistic expression of American apartheid, the Lee Monument, we frankly didn't give any thought to the fact that there was a monument there. And we bought the house because we liked the house. And it worked for us, and you know, we were coming from Washington at the time, and we just thought, hey, this is great. Now, of course, Melody, my wife, grew up here, so she was operating under no illusions, but it didn't play kind of a part in our life, except that we felt like we could kind of just walk out there, and I'll spare you the gesture, but I mean, that was kind of how we approached it. And when people asked us about feeling welcome and all that, I mean, our neighbors are fantastic. So we didn't really feel like it was a thing until 2020. And that's its own story. Yeah.
Its own story indeed, and a person who played a major role in that story is Devon Henry, because there was a time in 2020 when we were seeking to take down those monuments, and no one said they wanted to do it, and one person raised their hand, and Devon, it was you. And so folks would ask, well, why? Why would you want to do that? I know you put a lot on the line to do it. And now, looking back on those few years, give me your take.
Well, Mr. Mayor, it was, and it has been, a journey. I'm extremely proud of the work that we did. I'm extremely thankful for those that still kind of lay in the shadows that helped us do what we did, but are afraid to come forward because of the backlash that you receive by being a part of this process. I'm thankful for those who have fought for decades to try to share with folks that these statues didn't belong in public places. I'm just thankful to have had the experience, the good and the bad, because the good, it's allowed me to teach my children, don't live your life in fear. And while folks have, threatened my life, threatened my livelihood, and threatened those around me, I still didn't let that overcome the conviction that I had and the fact that these statues needed to come down.